Guys, it's Kalia here, real estate investor coach in Washington D.C. And so today what I want to do is I want to talk to you more about the difference between a real estate agent and investor. So before I get started, I wanted to ask, did anybody see the eclipse today? Did you get glasses? How was it? Okay. Oh, you didn't? Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and get to it. So the difference between real estate investor and agent. So first, let me just start off by going through some of the responsibilities of an agent. And then I'll go through some of the responsibilities of an investor, and we'll talk about some of the differences or the main differences. As a real estate agent, you're pretty much responsible for other people. So like you're working on behalf of others. So I look at a real estate agent as more of a career, because when you get your real estate license, you have to pass a state and a national test, and then you sign up to work for a real estate broker. It depends on what state you're in. Some states are broker-only states, meaning you have to actually become a broker instead of actually becoming an agent. But where I am, for instance, there are brokers and there are agents. And so as an agent, you actually sign up to work with a real estate broker, and you get paid a commission. So the commissions are negotiable. It all depends upon what you can work out or what the broker tells you their starting commissions are for agents. And some of the responsibilities of an agent are showing houses. So you could have somebody who wants to buy a house and you're showing them houses. Or you could be working with a seller and they want to sell their house. So you're representing their interests when you're actually showing them the houses and helping them to make a good financial decision. Another key thing is that so it works the same way basically with buyers and sellers. Both of them, even though you're working with people, a lot of times you're working on commission, and everyone structures it differently. I know, like, for instance, in my office, normally when somebody's working with a tenant, I normally have the tenants pay a fee up front. Because keep in mind, as a real estate agent, most of the time when you're working on commission, you really don't get paid on the back end. And so the commission amount is variable because it depends upon, what's agreed with the seller and how much the broker is going to charge you, and also how much is going to, like, let's say the selling broker and the buying, or the selling agent and the buying agent. So it can vary, but typically as an agent, most people are paid on the back end when the deal actually closes. So like, let's say if it's a settlement, you'll get paid when the settlement occurs. Or if you're leasing a place, then pretty much after the lease is signed and things like that, then that's when you would get your commission. So now let's get into investors. So as an investor, you're going around and you're looking for properties that you want to invest in for yourself. So if I want to, let's say, flip a house, I'm looking for houses that I want to flip. If I want to wholesale, I'm looking basically to find a seller, somebody I can get a property under contract, and I want to reassign my contract to another investor. Or even if I want to become a landlord, I'm looking at properties that I want to get into a contract, and basically I could buy the house using funding from the bank. So I could just buy the house. Let's say I got a loan from the bank and I decide to buy, and then of course you have your holding costs and you have somebody paying you every month. So hopefully you're making enough money where the tenants are paying their rent, and then you're able to clear some type of funding in between that. Some people also get into sublease, or subject to, where that's where the seller does seller financing. Or some people do like lease options, where they bring in somebody else, and it's kind of like they're getting the difference in between what that tenant buyer is paying and what the landlord has agreed to rent you the property for. So that's kind of like a summary of just different scenarios. But typically, the difference with an investor, out of what I've just described, is that as an investor, you're working on behalf of yourself. So I look at an agent, whether you're part-time or full-time. When you're in that agent role and you're representing other people, then it's pretty much like a career. Even though you're managing your own time, you're kind of like a contractor is basically what you are, because the broker will write you a 1099. So it's a contract job. And some brokerages even have certain requirements. So they may say, okay, well, you need to sell this many houses, or you need to meet a quota. So that's the difference. And so one thing that I want to say is, like, some people ask whether they should start off as an agent or an investor. And I always say that it's really just a personal decision, because it's something where I would say that you have to be able to assess your personality. If you know that you don't really you don't want to deal with clients, you don't want to have people asking you questions about buying houses, or you don't want to drive people around to look at places, then more than likely being an agent may not be for you. Some people just decide to get their license because they want to represent themselves. But most people that I know who do full-time investing, they're not really interested in actually keeping a license, because there are fees that go into maintaining that license as far as education, and they also feel that there's a liability with it. But more so, they just don't really see the need. They just hire somebody else where that's what they do, and then they focus on what they do. So I think that as far as being an agent, you definitely have to assess your personality and figure out whether it's for you. Again, if you don't have a lot of time, it could be difficult. Let's say you're working your own job and then you also want to represent clients and you want to do investing. Well, that could be a lot of time to dedicate towards each one. So it's better to just focus on what it is that you really want to do based upon also your goals. So if your goals are really to invest, then more than likely, if you don't have a lot of time, it would be better just to start off with the investing so you can focus on getting to your goal quicker. Because most people who actually really even become an agent, most people ultimately want to start their own investing because they kind of get tired of working with other people and them, calling them all the time. It does take a lot of patience and things like that to be able to work with clients. So also you got to look at your goals. Then you need to look at your schedule to see how much time you have. So whether you're an agent or an investor, you still need to be able to set aside time to make sure that you can actually see, my battery is low, so that you can actually meet whatever your goals are. So you definitely need to look at your schedule. Okay, well, you have to set aside time for prospecting for both of them if you're actually going to find deals. So that's kind of similar between the two. So you do need to prospect, you do need to talk to sellers. So that portion of it is somewhat the same. So you do need to set aside time for those activities.